Magandang araw sa inyong lahat. We are now on part 7. At ngayon ay meron tayong bagong source sa ating pag-aaral sa patuloy sa subject on the atonement. And this time ay ang ating author ay si Herman Nicholas Ridderbos. Si Herman Nicholas Ridderbos, sabi rito, babasahin ko lang, ay nabuhay noong February 13, 1909 until March 8 of 2007. Herman Nicholas Ridderbos was a Dutch theologian and biblical scholar. He was an important New Testament theologian, having worked extensively on the history of salvation and biblical theology. Magagaling po yung ating mga theologian, mga napipili natin dito sa ating subject in regard to the atonement. And of course, all for the glory of God. Okay, part 7 ni Herman Ridderbos on his book, this time entitled Paul, An Outline of His Theology, under section number 33 on his subject on Christ's death as atonement. As justification by faith is grounded in the death of Christ, so too in the pronouncements on reconciliation, the death of Christ is brought up again and again as the foundation on which, or the way in which this reconciliation takes place. Thus, it is said in Romans chapter 5 verse 10, that when we were yet enemies, we were reconciled through the death of God's Son. And in Ephesians and Colossians, we meet with a whole series of expressions that establish the connection between Christ's death and the peace and reconciliation wrought by him. It says here that in Christ Jesus, you who were once far off have been brought near by the blood of Christ. In Ephesians chapter 2 verse 13. For he is our peace, having abolished in or through his flesh the enmity. In Ephesians chapter 2 verse 14. That he might reconcile them both in one body unto God through the cross, having slain the enmity thereon or therein. And in Colossians chapter 1 verse 20, it is said that God through Christ has reconciled all things, making peace through the blood of his cross. And you, he has now reconciled in the body of his flesh through death. In verse 22 of 1 Corinthians, or rather of Colossians chapter 1. All these places before us the question as to what significance must be ascribed to the suffering and death of Christ in the whole of the reconciling activity of God. In our discussion of the significance of Christ's death as the ground for justification, we confined ourselves to pointing out the general forensic meaning of Christ's death. In Christ, God shows his vindicatory righteousness in the present time and thus justifies those who have faith in Jesus. Romans chapter 3 verses 25 and 26. The apostle also says in that context, however, that God made him openly to be a means of propitiation in his blood in Romans chapter 3 verse 25. Just as in Romans chapter 5 verse 9 as a parallel of reconciled by his death, cited above, there is mention of being justified by his blood. It is clear that this terminology, however closely connected, It is with the forensic doctrine of justification, does not simply flow out of it, and as appears from the foregoing, is likewise bound up with the concept of reconciliation. Thus, in discussing the doctrine of reconciliation, that is, of the restoration taken in a wider sense of the broken relationship between God and the world, there is reason to go further into the complex of pronouncements that make this restoration rest on the passion and death of Christ. Moreover, at the same time, the question can be discussed, a question that has frequently been raised in the history of Pauline studies, as to what connection is made in his proclamation between the reconciliation that goes forth from God to the world and the necessity of the death of Christ. What is meant in Romans chapter 5 verses 9 and 10 by justified by his blood and reconciled by the death of his Son can best be elucidated by the pronouncement in Romans chapter 3 verse 25, with which these expressions are linked, that God made Christ openly to be a means of propitiation in his blood. For here, the significance of the words in or by his blood is explained by the combination with the idea hilasterion, which means of propitiation. The idea employed here to propitiate and the group of words to which it belongs, in contrast to the concept katalage that has been dealt with so far, occurs only once in Paul and has its background in a complex of ideas wholly its own. While the concept katalage, or meaning reconciliation, originates in the social societal sphere. Hilasterion means of propitiation is derived from the cultus, particularly from the propitiatory sacrifice that took place there. Thus, Christ's death is qualified by the designation means of propitiation as a propitiatory sacrifice, and the accompanying phrase consisting in his blood has materially the meaning of propitiatory blood. The related expressions in Romans chapter 5 verse 9 are to be understood in the same sense and say that justification has been accomplished by his propitiatory blood and reconciliation by his propitiatory deaths. That the concept of propitiate in the form of means of propitiation occurs only once in Paul does not mean that the thought it expresses is absent elsewhere in his epistles. Apart from what has already been said with respect to Romans chapter 5 verses 9 and 10, a few other pronouncements are to be pointed out here as well, which, although in another context than the present one, speak of Christ's death as a sacrificial death. Thus, in 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 7, where in reference to Old Testament passages, it is said, "For our Paschal Lamb has also been slaughtered, even Christ." The same holds for the words of the Lord's Supper quoted by Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 25. "This cup is the new covenant in my blood." Finally, in Ephesians chapter 5 verse 2, where likewise referring to traditional expressions, it is said that Christ gave himself up for us as an offering and a sacrifice for a fragrant odor to God. In all these places, not only is sacrificial terminology employed, but materially there is mention of Christ's death as a propitiatory death. This, after all, was the significance both of the Passover sacrifice and of the covenant sacrifice, which is spoken of in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 25. Comparing them from Exodus chapter 12, verse 7 and 13, and also in Exodus chapter 24, verses 6 to 8. The words of Ephesians chapter 5, verse 2, as appears from the for us, also point to the element of atonement. To these then are still to be added those passages in which there is mention of Christ's blood in the sense of propitiatory blood. Beside those places in Romans chapter 3 verses 25 and Romans chapter 5 verse 9 already discussed in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 16 and 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 25 and following are to be mentioned as such in direct connection with the words of the Lord's Supper. I would like to end part 7 of our discussion today. And Lord willing, we will be seeing each other again on our next meeting on part 8. Getting excited, of course. And once again, a very pleasant day to all of us. God bless everybody. See you soon.